It's time to kick off your shoes, put the kettle on, have a brew, and listen to this week's chat. Hello and welcome to Menopause Weekly. Today I'm with a really dear friend of mine. She's called Joyce and she is a former lunchmate on a show that was called Steph's Packed Lunch. And today we're going to be talking about the post-menopause. I've chosen Joyce for a very special reason because she's got the knowledge that we all need right now. And I'm going to ask you a really personal... She's got... Now that's interesting that you would say that you've got through it.
Yeah.
Because I want to ask you more about that. Hold that thought. But before we start, what I need to ask you is, and I hope you don't mind me asking this, it's quite personal, but how old are you?
I will be 70 on the 2nd of March.
Wow, okay. So let's just explore what you've just said to me a little bit further. Mm-hmm. When you say you've got through the menopause, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think at the time, when I went through the menopause, it was something that I accepted, didn't question, just went, oh, here we go again, this is happening. And it was a delight when it stopped. And getting through it meant that then I could just carry on normally, and think, and the menopause wasn't going to sort of interrupt what I was doing, my work, or give me a hard time, or prevent me sleeping, or whatever. So I actually got through that period of time, which ladies have to do.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not, or whether you have a paddy about it, it doesn't matter. You've got to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good to get through it.
Yeah.
Because then you feel, if I say better, you feel more yourself, you've got more energy and so on, so that you can pursue what you need to pursue.
So let me ask you a question. How long do you think you was in the menopause stage?
I would say quite a while. Back end of the 40s, into my 50s, and then even in my 60s, I've had the odd hot flush. It is hot flushes rather than anything else.
Right.
Yeah. So although I know there's a period of time where this can happen, it can be years, can't it?
Mm-hmm.
In my 60s, I've had what I feel the menopause has hit me again, but only for a very short time.
Okay. So when do you think your last symptom of what you call the menopause would be?
I would say early 60s.
So you're thinking early 60s. Hot flushes, and you've had nothing since?
No.
At all. And so what does that make you think regarding post-menopause? Where do you think you are within the post-menopause?
I've passed it.
So do you think that you've finished the
Yes.
post-menopause?
I hope so.
And you've come out of it?
Yes, I hope so, Sandra.
Well, I've got some really bad news for you. Because according to the NHS statistics, the post-menopause is something that we have to the grave.
Really?
So we never come out of it. We're always in post-menopause.
But is post-menopause necessarily bad? And is post-menopause, is it the hot flushes, the not sleeping, pains?
Right, okay. It can be.
Right.
So so once you've got into the post-menopause, you can be in it, like you say, from your 60s, your 70s and your 80s to the grave.
Wow.
We're all very different, so it would affect us all differently. So it might be that you still have hot sweats, that you're still feeling anxious, that you might get headaches, you might have itchy skin, and the thing is that we assume, don't we, that it would reduce. So some of our symptoms will reduce and some of them will disappear.
Okay.
But the reason why the NHS say that we stay in post-menopause is because we've got this lack of oestrogen for life.
Right.
So the lack of oestrogen puts us at risk of endometrial cancer. It puts us at risk of things like early dementia, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and the really big one that I'm really concerned about because I'm so sporty is osteoporosis.
Right.
Have you ever thought about that?
Now then, because I have got osteoporosis osteoporosis. That's the bones.
It's your
isn't it?
bones, how they
Yeah.
fracture really easily.
Well, I've got problems with that because I had a knee replacement 2016. I've had to have another. I had to have it taken out last year because of infection. I've now got another one which I've only had in for 3 weeks, and that could be related to the menopause then, couldn't it? That it's not
because your
quite
bone
right.
density is your bones are much more hollow, so you've got a lot more hollow spaces in there, which means it's much more easy to fracture them, but not necessarily for everyone.
So a lot of things that we have put up with, thinking it's the menopause, is created through being a woman then, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the deterioration is part of
growing old. Well,
growing old.
Well, we probably would put it down to, it happens because we're getting older. But really, we're not educated to actually protect ourselves more. Because did you ever go on HRT?
I was lucky. Because when I was 38, I had hysterectomy.
Right.
Which was a godsend because my periods were so heavy. I'd used 2 Super Plus Tampax plus a pad before I left home, and by the time I got to work, it had just come through me. It was,
heavy.
Basically I had to sit on a bucket the first week, but that wasn't conducive to me going to work, so I didn't.
No, not at all.
Anyway, a dear doctor, Dr. Warner, fabulous GP, said, right, Joyce, we're going to have to sort you out, have a hysterectomy. And it was fantastic. He talked me through it, said what would happen. I went in, but fortunately, they only took one of my ovaries. So they said because one of my ovaries was still in my body, it was still doing a bit of a job, and I didn't have to have HRT. And because I had one ovary left in, I didn't go straight into the menopause. They said you will go into the menopause, but it will be later on, and it was.
Yeah. So you hit the menopause late 40s, and at that point your oestrogen levels start to decline dramatically, and without taking the HRT, which gives you the oestrogen that your bones need, you were actually deficient.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you didn't do anything to rectify.
No.
You did.
Well, I wasn't told.
You wasn't told.
So you just.
We're still not, Joyce.
I don't think I've suffered through the menopause like a lot of women have.
No. I have suffered definitely over years. I'd say, Liberty's 20 in May this year. I would say I hit the menopause at 45.
Right.
And I literally, no period after that. Now this is interesting as well, and I think that a lot of people would be really confused at what I'm about to say here, because you have to have had no period for 12 consecutive months for you to be. Now, do you think that the word is going to be menopausal or post-menopausal?
Post.
Wow, yeah. So, how long would an average woman be menopausal for then?
A long time.
No, not necessarily. Because if you take me for instance, my last period was at 45 and that was it. I never had any more bleeding.
Wow.
And yet I've said to everybody I've been menopausal for almost 20 years. And I say that because none of my symptoms have reduced. I've had to go on HRT at 60 because I can't live with it any longer. It's just been a nightmare for me. So I'm saying I've been menopausal for that long.
Wow.
But my period literally stopped and there was no more.
So I guess strictly speaking, I was perimenopausal in my 40s and only menopausing for 1 year because I entered my menopause at 45 and never had another period for 12 consecutive months, which means I then entered the postmenopause at 46. What I find incredible about that is that I literally have only just figured this out. I mean, how ridiculous is this?
I find that really weird. I really do.
But again, it does show how different we all are. And because I used to go into staff meetings and then oh, and I'd just say, oh, hot flush, you know, and make a joke about it,
Yeah.
which didn't help in terms of having sympathy or understanding.
I don't think back then we ever did. I mean,
didn't
a lot of
talk
people,
about it,
ladies didn't want to talk about it, and I think men possibly would maybe be embarrassed about it because we didn't talk about it. And the most that, you know, husbands and probably employers would be like, oh, it's hot flushing, isn't it? You know, the menopause, it's ladies' things.
When I started teaching PE, we got all the girls together and we gave them a talk about periods. And, you know, we were saying that that you have a period every month and one girl stood up and said, how long do you have these periods? And I said, oh, for about 40 years, and she fainted.
A nice one,
She
Joyce.
thought that once you start,
It's never going to stop.
for 40 years. And I mustn't laugh, and I can't even remember her name, bless her, but you found out now, haven't you, dear? But yeah, 40
bless.
years and she keeled over.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. That's so funny.
But you know, but it is about educating, isn't it? And also
thank you.
how we
Yeah.
speak to people, because
Yeah.
that was in all innocence when I said, oh, for 40 years,
Yeah.
you know, and I was
Not
only a young teacher.
consecutively.
Yeah. But it just shows how you have to explain everything,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
then
Would
and
not.
that young girl would then be able to cope, knowing that it wasn't 40 years consecutive.
Yeah.
You know, that it happened once a month or
Absolutely.
every 2
Yeah.
months or whatever,
Yeah.
and there was a cycle,
Yeah.
and then you can cope with it. And I think it's the same with the menopause. And a lot of people haven't coped with it
No.
because you go to bed, you're throwing the covers off, then you'll be trying to get them back on again.
I did it for 20
you know,
years
and-
nearly, and I thought,
and you
this
fall
is it.
out and all of this.
Yeah.
And yet, I think it's really important to maybe actually talk about the menopause when you start your period.
Yeah, I do. So get
And
it in school.
Get it in now,
Why isn't it?
and then kids can understand it. That
Yeah.
I think it's hard to understand something that you're not experiencing, but at least you've got an idea.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you do get a little bit older, you could perhaps talk to your GP or,
Yeah.
you know, you as a
Yeah.
connoisseur and watch the podcasts and things about it.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it's always too late.
I think so, and I think it's, you know, the kids in school might just think, well, this isn't relevant to me, and it's so long, it's so far
Ahead.
away, why should
Yeah.
I bother listening? But, you know, it's educating the boys and the girls, it's planting the seed,
Yeah,
but then from planting the seed, you then need to water the seed and
Yeah.
help it to grow.
yeah.
So lots of other things that can be done, and the government need to make some changes, because
Yeah.
we are not, as women, getting the help that
The
we
help
all
that we
need.
need,
We're
yeah.
really not.
And of course, you know, the menopause for me wasn't as bad, and I think it's because I had the hysterectomy. And it, you know, yes, I had the hot flushes and things, but I didn't have the itchy skin and all the horrible stuff with it, if I remember.
Yeah.
But even so, I think people should be aware that you might be working with somebody that's actually going through it, and
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
you know, it's not funny.
No, and it's how you can support them,
Yes.
you know, rather than just giggling and laughing and going, oh, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
it's that time of the month, or it's just the menopause,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I mean, if
about
somebody
going, how
walks
can I
in
support you?
With a broken
Better.
leg, you would open the door for them
Yeah,
or help them
absolutely,
into the car.
and you would
wouldn't
ask what is it that they need?
What do they need?
Absolutely.
And because it isn't, I think it is visible though, isn't it? The
Highly
post-menopause is visible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's, maybe we haven't done ourselves any good. You know, somebody my age, we've just sort of said, oh, I'm having a hot flush, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's a bit hot in here. And I've joked about it to actually cope with it.
Yeah,
And
that's what we do.
And maybe we should say to women, look, you know, if you're feeling absolutely crap or uncomfortable, say so.
Yeah.
If you need a bit of time out and everything,
Yeah.
then say
Yeah.
so. And give permission to people, because people need permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
9 out of
No,
10
they
times
do.
they do need
They do.
permission to actually
Yeah.
stand up for themselves, which
Well,
sounds ridiculous,
No,
but it's true.
not at all. Well, that leads on to another question, because tell me what you're doing part-time at the moment. You're working at, is it a university?
What I'm doing at the moment, I'm tutoring.
Yeah.
I'm a counsellor anyway, so I'm doing some counselling, and I'm a Reiki master, so I do Reiki as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what's the age group that you're teaching?
The youngest is year 5, up to 17, 18.
Okay, and what organisations are you working for?
In terms of, well, I'm getting kids through their GCSE maths and English, basically.
So is it Leeds Council?
Kirklees.
Kirklees.
Work for Kirklees.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you straight up and tell me if you've even seen it. I'm sure they've got it. But do they have a policy on the menopause?
I don't know, but I'm going to find out after this experience.
I'd be really interested to find out, and I'd love to have a look at that.
Yeah.
I think this is so important. But for somebody like you who's probably been inducted, why don't you know this? Why didn't they tell you this?
Quite.
For you.
Yeah.
We've looked at the statistics. You're in postmenopause till the grave, and you can be in it from 60, 70, 80.
But I can also help parents because I have a good relationship with my students' parents, and they talk to me, they're worried or whatever, and that subject could actually come up, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But with the parents, with the mums.
Absolutely brilliant point, because Ryan Clark and his mum have actually been talking about the menopause together, and one of the things that Ryland said was when he was a kid, had he known that his mum was going through the menopause, he could have supported her more, whereas he just thought she was just ranting and raving and getting really upset about things that were, what's the matter with mum? Why is she getting so wound up about this? And I think maybe there is an opportunity for you just to say, look, let's just talk about this. And let's just be aware that, when mum's maybe having a difficult day, there might be something more behind that. So that we start to understand it. But
communicate.
You're watering the seed on both parts, on mum's part and on the kid's part, which really helps, doesn't it, with the education?
And I think it gives one confidence to actually talk about it without feeling embarrassed. And it's not, okay, men don't have the menopause, or do they? But to understand your partner or your friends and things is so important, and it's all about communication, isn't it?
Honestly, it really is.
It's a massive thing, is communication.
Well, how we communicate as a couple as well, a married couple or, in partnerships, whatever the partnership is. I know the statistics, I looked at them just recently, Joyce, and you'd be staggered to know that they were quite high for the divorce rate. And for menopause, and menopause has been blamed for a really high percentage of divorce rates.
Well, I've counselled quite a few couples, and I can see maybe some of that was part of it, not all of it by any means, but you could see that the couples are not communicating because they've decided they don't want to be together, so they don't communicate. But actually, they could have stayed together if they had communicated. And
some of those some of the reasons behind that could all be down to the menopause.
Because, I was reading about it, and sex does come into it as well.
Absolutely.
Which is a massive thing.
Of
so,
course.
If you've gone off it, or you've gone the other way, and your partner thinks, cracking, what on earth is going on here, and you haven't discussed it, again, more problems.
One of the other things that I want to pick up on, and you've mentioned it, is Reiki.
Reiki can assist us with our menopause symptoms by calming the mind, helping us to remove unwanted habits, and providing a deeper sense of self-worth and awareness.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what is Reiki?
Reiki is to do with the universal energies for healing. I am not a healer, but I am a channel of the person's peace. And I have done my Reiki 1, Reiki 2 and my Reiki Masters, which enables me to teach it as well. And I am attuned to the universe, and through various sort of symbols, and how can I put it? I'm trying to make it very simple. Through awareness of symbols and connections with the universe, then I can be that channel for it to come through the universe to the person I'm treating.
Right.
And there are 14 positions on the body. It depends how the person feels about whether you want to put the hands on the body or just away from the body. And I've been quite successful. I have a dear friend who 7 years ago was given 5 weeks to live. I've known her a long time, and we met up just by chance over Christmas a few years ago again, and I said I'll come and give you some Reiki, which I've been doing, and it's made a hell of a lot of difference for her. Amazing.
Well, it's a positive, it gives you that positivity, doesn't it?
Yes.
I'll be honest
You can
with
send it as well. I sent some to a
Oh,
little
really?
baby yesterday that was struggling a bit, just been born, wasn't breathing on his own. So I said to his grandma, I'll send some Reiki. And I'm sure it's not just the Reiki, but things are going great now. He's breathing properly, and mum and dad are there. Mum can now feed him and so on.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
I do believe in Reiki, but because it isn't tangible, people find it hard to believe in
Yes.
things that are not
Yeah.
tangible. But
Yeah.
if you have a Reiki session, you can go very cold, you can go very warm. There are signals that things are happening, you know, through how you feel.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing experience.
I had some.
Oh, you've had some?
I had it when I was struggling to have my firstborn, Joshua.
All right.
And I was just so desperate. I think we'd been trying for about 5 years, and I was sort of started to delve into this kind of thing. So I had about maybe 5 sessions of Reiki and did get pregnant.
Wow.
And I think it was the mindset. I felt
Yeah.
so much more positive.
And yes, but also the universal energies will send healing to where it needs to go in your body. It is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a Reiki master for, I don't know, 25 years, something like that.
Well, I never looked back. I was always grateful that I tried. You know, just being open to other elements, other things. And so yeah, I didn't doubt it for 1 minute. I really didn't.
And it's great.
helped.
And it also, for me, being the channel of your peace, which I think is a lovely statement, and it's in hymn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Make me a channel of
That's
your
lovely.
peace.
Thank you for that. Right,
And
now
it would help with the menopause.
well, send
Without a doubt.
me lots of it, because
I will come and give you some.
that would be amazing. I'd be very thankful for whatever I can get on this menopause. It isn't, you know, no wonder it's M for menopause and menacing at the same time.
But why is it called men? Oh,
I know, yeah, men, we've got
Does
to
it mean
pause.
men, we are pausing from you?
Some of us are divorcing, not pausing, but there we are.
We are pausing.
But just going back to something else that you said about the post-menopause, and I just want to ask you, what was your menopause like? Well, your menopause, you've already told me it wasn't that bad, was it?
It wasn't too bad. It was just like, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know, hot flushing.
But
But
hot flushing.
But to be fair, I wouldn't say I became anxious, because I'm not an anxious person anyway.
Right.
And looking back, I didn't become anxious, and I wouldn't say that my skin was all itchy and everything. I think the main thing for me through the menopause were the hot flushes,
Right.
which just overwhelmed me at times. I'd be in a meeting, you know, not just at bedtime, but woof, here we go.
Oh, during
A hot
the day
sweat,
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
during the day as well. And then I just thought, I've got to deal with this. So actually, and it is noticeable.
Oh yeah.
It is not. So I'd just make a joke of it. Oh, here we go, hot flush. You know, and there were men there, but that's the way I sort of dealt with it.
And what did that feel like? Let's just think about that. Try and describe what happens to you during a hot flush.
It's like an incredible boost of hot air that comes to you and goes inside you and then comes out again, and you just start sweating. You know, if you're in a sauna, you
And
know,
it's uncontrollable,
and
isn't it?
and you cannot. There's nothing you can do about it. In a sauna, you can get out.
Yeah.
You know, but there's nothing you can do about it, and there isn't any warning that this is going to happen.
No.
It just does it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can frighten people if you don't know what it is.
Oh, absolutely. When it's your
You
first
think,
time.
oh, am I poorly? What's wrong with me?
I
Sort
know.
of thing.
Did you feel a boost of energy? Did you feel it like in your body, it's lower down, working its way up? Because I did.
Yeah, it felt as it was like a flush.
Yeah. And
Like that.
yeah, hot flushing
Hot
or
flush,
flashing.
yeah,
Flash, yeah.
Excuse the pun,
Yeah.
but yeah, the flush there,
Yeah.
and then you start sweating.
And
my hair shrinks when it sweats, so I didn't like it.
oh, bless you. And how long did that last?
I suppose during the day it didn't last, or didn't seem to last as long as it did at night. I don't know how to equate it really, day and night, but during the day, if it happened, I just acknowledged it, because I think that's another thing that women need to know, is that you acknowledge that it's happening, because once you acknowledge it's happening, you can deal with it.
A lot better.
It's when you think, oh, what's this? Oh, is it this? Is it that? You get yourself in a tizzy. But if you just say, hot flush, here we go again, right, give it a few minutes, and then I can continue. And that's what we did. That's what I did. But at night time, you know,
it's continuous,
it was awful.
Isn't it? It's duvet on, duvet off, toss turn for hours.
You know, you throw the sheets off and then you freeze in again. And you know, and you just think, oh God. And it is annoying for your partner. You know, and that's led to separate beds, or you put your duvet beds together when you're not. You know, and then apart when you are.
Well, I have the aircon on all. Well, not aircon. What is the fan? I have a fan. So I'm like menopause brain. The other thing as well, and I don't know whether this was the same for you, but I could feel it come out of my head. I could feel the energy in my head, and I could feel it leaving. It was weird, and as soon as it was like a tingling in my head, but a really strong sensation, and my face would be quite pink as well, my cheeks. Did you get quite rosy?
I think of my recollection, it was a sweat afterwards.
And your clothes are wet through.
Yeah, your clothes are wet. You think,
it's so embarrassing.
And it is embarrassing. But I just continued, and I can remember being in meetings and just think, well, it's and then because some people look at you, and so I would say, hot flush, here we go again, so that they knew as well. You know, because I didn't want a big deal about it, but I also didn't want somebody looking and saying, what's wrong with her? You know, and yet maybe I should have given them more information.
It's that silence, isn't it, that's the embarrassing bit, because you think, well, nobody's acknowledging the fact that this is happening to me, but visibly I can tell that they know, and I don't really know what to do, but I'm just feeling really quite nervous about this and upset that it's happened in a business meeting, and I feel like I'm being really unprofessional, and that's just not the case, is it? No. And it's just so sad that, you know, my mum used to feel like that, and I felt like that, and I think businesses need to do more, because that's just shouldn't be all on me. No. You know, the policy document has to go out, and it's got to be live, it's got to be a living document that people are working alongside and know what to do and how to handle that for a woman.
Absolutely.
You know,
give the woman the option to either leave the room or... Because for me, I just continued, and maybe that was okay for me, because remember, with having the hysterectomy, I don't think my menopause was as bad as yours. No. But even so, if I chose to stay in the meeting, fine. But if someone was aware, they could have given me the nod, and I could have said, "Excuse me, I won't be a minute," and give that person permission to leave if she wants to.
And you're right, and you say permission, and if they want to, and I think that's really important, that if you're doing a presentation and your manager can visibly see what's happening, they could just interject and say, Joyce, I can see you just having a little moment there. I'll tell you what, shall we just break for coffee? Do you want to I'll just give you a couple of minutes, and we'll come back after the break, and you know, we'll let's resume the presentation. And that's it. But give you the choice.
Yes, but I think managers could also choose their words, couldn't they? They could say, right, time out. You know, and words that actually then you give you the confidence to stand up and leave. Because that's what people need.
I think so.
The confidence to do that. And I know it's termed permission, but it is in a way. If your manager is understanding, be it male or female, you know, okay, Joyce, do you need time out? Yes, please. Okay. Right, we'll break here, or Joyce, you're just going out, she'll be back shortly.
When you think the younger generation that might not understand, but it all starts in, you know, educating, doesn't it? And educating them in schools, because they all know about pregnancy and they all know about periods. So why not just tell them about the menopause as well, so that when they hit, you know, businesses, when they're, you know, when they leave school, is it 18 now? They 18?
Well, officially they stay till 19.
Till 19.
They're leaving way before then.
But they're going to enter the world of employment at that age. So the only way they're going to get educated in it is in school.
Yeah.
So they're going to go into business and not have a clue.
But it's like understanding your body, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you can think, could it be the menopause? Yeah, I'm getting a bit of hot flushy, I'm getting headache. Could it be that? Right, okay, I'm going to find out more about that because I've been told a little bit about it.
Yeah, yeah. Go off and do your own research.
And then just double check it.
Yeah. Look at this podcast. It's a good podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So go on YouTube, look for podcasts, education.
Yeah, and also I would like to say as a teacher, tutor, whatever, that don't expect education to come to you.
Oh, yeah.
You have to go and get your own education. Yes, there are facilitators there are teachers there are lecturers there, but you can learn an awful lot yourself.
Yeah.
And
I have.
And I welcome that.
I do.
And then the more information you have, the more you can challenge.
Yeah.
And the more likely
Yeah.
to get yourself sorted and not suffer.
No. Well, this is what Menopause Weekly is all about.
Yeah.
It's literally about getting the right messages out there and hopefully, trying to change some of the government policies on the menopause and make change happen. And that's, we've got to get the key messages out there, but we've got to be clear about what do we want to change. And I think the easiest thing to change is just get the menopause on the curriculum. Yeah. That's the first step.
Yeah, and it mustn't be just for women. It's for all.
Yeah.
But this, I think in the past, like I said to you when we talked to a bunch of girls about their periods, really we should have had the whole year group in. But we spoke to the girls then because that's what it was like. I've been teaching 48 years. 48 years ago, when I started teaching PE, that's who we spoke to, the girls, because they had the periods. But boys are involved in periods.
Oh, absolutely. Boys are involved in the menopause, but they need to know when they should keep their mouths shut and run for the hills.
Yeah, absolutely.
They need to know what's happening with their relationships and
broaden
try and support women.
About people in general.
Absolutely.
It's like, understanding about prostate cancer.
Yes.
We as women don't get that.
We need to understand that for them.
We need to understand that for men, don't we? And it's exactly the same thing with the menopause.
Yeah.
It is about understanding, education, communication.
Love it. Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Oh, well, we are doing well. This is a really interesting question. So, if you were on HRT, you're protected because you've got the oestrogen. So your bones are more protected, cardiovascular, you've got heart disease, a bit more protection, protection from dementia. So it's useful. Do you think that there is an age when the doctor would say you've got to come off that? Or
yes,
do you
I think there is an age. I think there is, because, I haven't been on it, have I? And, and I don't want to go on anything I don't have to go on. It's a bit like statins and things like this, saying, you should be on statins now. No, I don't want to go on those.
Oh, no.
I'm on
You're
medication.
on them for life if you're on those, so you have to be very careful. Don't you? That's what you want to do.
I think, HRT, you really have to look at whether that person really needs to go on it or not. And if I've got one over it, well, I have, and it was giving me what I needed so that I didn't have to go on HRT, hallelujah, because it's more natural, isn't it, to get it from your own body and the organs that you've got, rather than pumping, HRT or whatever into you. And I would hate to think that once you're on it, you have to stay on it, because you don't have to stay on it.
Well, the thing about the menopause and postmenopause is that we are postmenopausal to the grave, and once our periods have stopped, regardless of whether you've still got one ovary or not, I've still got two, I'm now massively at risk of osteoporosis.
Right.
And my heart's, I've not got the cardiovascular aspect of keeping my heart safe, and I'm more at risk of dementia. And I just think, for me personally, I want to stay on HRT to the grave, and there's a lot of other women out there, there's a lot of them, and I've done the research. I've looked at this as a question and asked the question. The statistics are enormous. People would absolutely go crazy if their GP took them off HRT at any age whatsoever, because what it does is it protects us to the grave.
So I'm not being protected then,
Absolutely not. No.
And that's an interesting one because nobody's picked that up,
Well,
have they?
that's so
From
sad.
when, from me, from 38,
Yeah.
if I'm 70 now, well, if I am, and nobody said, oh heck, we better put Joyce on HRT then. You know, I think I'll get dementia. My kids will say I've got it now, I'm due daily tap now. But I think, because I'm forgetting things.
The oestrogen would have helped to protect you
yeah.
against dementia, and it would protect your bones. And you know, you can't, when we say we're in post-menopause to the grave, it means literally that we are at risk from whatever age we hit the post-menopause to the grave. And a lot of people have said to me, oh, I sailed through the menopause. They don't even mention the post-menopause. I sailed through the menopause, had hardly any symptoms, and I'm out of it. And I think, no, you're never out of it. But we're not educated enough to know that. You're not out of the post-menopause. You're always going to be post-menopausal. And you're not getting the protection that you need in key areas. But you don't know this. You've just gone, I'm fine.
Yeah, that is something that needs to be broadcast.
I think so.
And women then can have the ultimate choice. But I haven't got that.
You didn't even know this.
No.
Nobody's talked to you about it. And you work in education and you're really intelligent.
Yeah. Thank you.
You are.
But I thought, oh great, I don't have to go on HRT because I've still got an ovary and I'm absolutely fine.
Your ovary is an irrelevance here.
But if you think about it, you know, we need to keep up to date with this because that's what I was told when I was 38.
Yeah.
And so I went through thinking that's what the doctors have told me, you know, so I must be okay.
Well, you go to your GP and say, how am I being protected against osteoporosis, about cardiovascular disease and dementia when I'm not on HRT? And you ask him to tell, or him or her, to tell you the answer.
I bet they can.
Well,
a lot more.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really sad.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, you might not even know this either, so she went on HRT for a specific period. She went on it for 10 years because she couldn't stand the symptoms. And when she reached 70, she decided to come off HRT because she thought it was putting her at risk of getting cancer, which is not the case at all. She came off it and said, it's given me the protection for 10 years and I've got over the hump of all the symptoms, so I don't need it anymore and I'll come off it. And all of her symptoms returned. All of them. I remember what I said, once you hit post-menopause, between, you know, you could be 60, 70, 80, depending on your body, we're all very different, but any multitude of those symptoms will stay with you. And the only way that we can reduce them or get rid of them altogether is by going on HRT and giving the body what it needs, which is the oestrogen. That's what it's lacking, and it comes down to estrogen. That's it. That's end game. And how do we get that estrogen into our bodies that our bodies so desperately need? And believe it or not, you know, we get premature aging. Now you haven't, because you're just amazing. Your skin and everything. You do not look 70. You are so lucky. But I got premature aging around my eyes. So when I got into my 50s, the wrinkles were just incredible. And since I've been on HRT, I've noticed that they're reducing. They're actually, I can see visibly that they're a lot better. So I'm really pleased about that. But then my friend, who just decided I'm just going to come off HRT, put herself at risk even further by doing that, because she didn't come off it with the doctor's advice, which was to come off it really slowly.
As with anything.
And let me tell you what she was at risk of. Some research also suggests a rise in blood pressure and a slight increase in the risk of heart attack or stroke in the year after coming off your HRT.
Wow.
Now, nobody told me that.
No.
I would have liked to have known that. But it does say, and I do need to say this, but overall, the risk of stopping HRT is low, and you can do it slowly, comfortably, and in a safe way.
You need to have that discussion with your doctor or
Yeah.
whoever's put you on it.
Yeah.
You need a full discussion, and then you can make a choice.
Absolutely.
Can't you?
Do you think that there are any benefits to entering post-menopause at all, or entering it quickly?
I would say the cost of, hang on, that's right, isn't it? Because you're not with periods anymore. So the cost of sanitary towels and things like that, that's a benefit. You have more money in your purse. But that's it. That's,
Shall we have a look at some?
yeah.
Shall we have a look at some of the benefits?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let's have a look at some now then, shall we?
No more periods, no worries about leakage, stress less about PMS, and the end of menstrual headaches. Sex without pregnancy worries, uterine fibroids shrink, and apparently we experience an increased confidence and inner strength, although I'm not totally convinced about this, and if we do, then it's for a very short period, because as many ladies will probably testify, our confidence does reduce when we reach the menopause, and our inner strength is tested to the full.
Well, the post-menopause is the period, isn't it, where your symptoms are supposed to start to reduce.
Yeah.
And you can come through it,
Yeah.
kind of, in that they'll disappear altogether.
Yeah.
But you're never through it,
Through it.
remember that.
Yeah.
Because you've still got, and you'll have it for the end of your days, your lack of oestrogen. And that's what you've got, that's
Yeah.
what you need to think about.
Yeah, I am going to
Yeah.
think about that one, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. A later menopause is probably healthier.
Yeah.
It is, however, associated with an elevated risk of developing breast cancer, ovarian cancer and endometrial concerns, leading to possibly cancer. You entered the
I did
post-menopause
enter the
early.
post. Yeah, 40-ish. Yeah, I did,
Yeah,
didn't
so
I?
you entered it
Back under
early.
40.
Overall, a later menopause is
Is
probably
better.
healthier.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Of
If
course.
it's later, of course
Because
it makes
you've got
sense.
the protection of the oestrogen.
That's right.
So you've been unprotected from that
all that
oestrogen
time.
for a really long time, which puts you at an elevated risk, doesn't it? Now, one of the things that really concerns me, and I've been looking at some reports recently, your breast cancer screening testing, you've got that until you're 70. And are you having yours regularly?
I had mine last year.
Brilliant.
last
I
year.
am too. Right. Now this
Oh yeah, I'll go.
this
I
might
go to
be,
everything.
well, actually, I was really surprised at this, let me tell you, because my smear test I had recently, so I've turned 61 and I've literally just had my smear test. Now, I don't like them, they are uncomfortable, but they're a necessity to keep me alive for longer.
Can I tell you,
Yeah.
when you've had hysterectomy, you don't have smear tests.
Ooh, so that's a
So I
benefit.
haven't had a smear test until 38.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm at risk currently. Now, when I had my last smear test at 61, I was really shocked to learn that they said, "Oh, Sandra, this is your last one." And I went, "I'm sorry, how can that be my last one?" And they went, "Well, you have them every 5 years now. So when you come back, you'll be 66. And it finishes at 65. And I went, "Well, does that mean that I'm less likely to get cancer?" And they went, "No."
So you can still have a smear test via the GP,
Well,
but you won't have a routine one.
No.
Yes.
Well,
But
you
you go
you
to-
you say this, but I said the exact same thing. I went, well, I don't really want them to stop when I'm 65. So what do I do? And they went, "Well, if you see anything different, if you feel anything different, if you smell anything different, if it looks different, if there's I don't know,
Well,
any
it's going to look
bleeding."
different. We're getting old.
But if you decide if you're bleeding, then go back to the GP and you can request a smear test. But I just felt I kind of felt, well, actually, I wrote down some stuff because on the way in, I thought, how do I feel really? And I feel like that's ageist. I do feel like it's ageist. I feel like I'm an irrelevance now.
Well, I think they're saying, aren't they, look, we've tested you all this way now, nothing's gone wrong, so then you're going into old age, and your old age is going to be a different kettle of fish. It's going to be completely different, your old age.
Well, I think we're more likely to get cancer.
If you're on HRT, you've got some protection there, haven't you? But there's nothing wrong in having smear tests, surely, till you die.
Yeah, but the NHS is saying we're not doing them now.
Well, you're not doing them free.
They're not. Well, the NHS, this is how much it costs a year, 175 million a year.
Why? How could they justify that? What, having those, going to your GP?
Having a smear test.
Having a going into the GP?
Yeah, sending it off for it to be looked at in a lab. If you want to go privately, at the moment, it's £189 or thereabouts. It is shocking. If we're having our smear tests, right, 83%. So if we have our smear test...
I don't have smear tests now because I've had hysterectomy.
Well, I'm just thinking 83% of us can avoid getting cancer if we continue to have.
And when you're told,
tests.
You don't have to have smear tests now, you say, okay.
I know.
Because you're hearing that from the
we skip out of the door going, yippee, fantastic, because I hate them. And it's wrong. It is absolutely wrong.
It's like your mammograms and things. When do they stop? Because
they stop at 70. We need these tests are essential.
Yeah.
And I just think it places no value on our life, to say, well, at 65 we're going to stop doing it. It almost
Sandra, they can't think of the human life anymore because there's too many of us. There are too many people. Yeah. We're letting too many people into the country as well, which makes the population much bigger. They're building loads of houses here in Murfield. They're not making the schools any bigger, and our doctor's surgery is bursting at the seams.
Yeah, I know.
So they haven't got the facilities. So what do they do?
They've not got the funding.
What they do is say, right, well, we'll cut that. Yeah, she's got to 62. She'll be all right. This is people who don't know anything about it. And this is how they're actually dealing with it, instead of actually looking at the true information that's out there and saying, we've got to do something about this.
Well, they're putting 83% of us at risk.
Yeah.
I think it's an insidious way of culling. I really genuinely do. And it says here almost 30% of women are diagnosed with cancer between the age of 65 and 74. 30% of us are diagnosed with cancer at the age that they're stopping it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it beggars belief. We've got 1 in 130 UK females will be diagnosed with cervical cancer in their lifetime.
Yeah.
1 in 130. I don't want to be that one, do you?
No, not at all.
No.
The people who are dealing with us don't know.
I know, absolutely.
They will be given information that they're to pass on to us, and they might be women themselves, but they won't know the true information because you've done so much research. I'm going to look at things as well.
I've done a lot of research.
And but I think it's to do with the size of the population. And they don't know how to manage us anymore. They don't know how to stop people coming into the country without being nice. It's chaos in hospitals.
I know. It's so sad, isn't it?
And old people
so sad.
Are lying in their own poo.
No. People are dying in corridors because they've not managed to get onto a ward in time.
My daughter-in-law's brother was in a corridor for 18 hours. He ended up losing his toe. 18 hours. He walked out. I mean, it's not their fault.
No, it's not. It's bad management, isn't it?
It's the government.
It's bad management. It really is.
Throwing out numbers to us, like millions of pounds here, millions of pounds there, because it means nothing to us.
No.
We don't know what millions of pounds can do for the NHS. It sounds a lot of money to us.
It clearly is a lot of money, because if you look at the stats, 175 million a year on cervical cancer tests, on our smear tests.
Just on that.
Absolutely, and they're going, when these women reach 65, let's not do that. Let's save 175 million.
But where's that 175 million going to go?
Where is it going? It could be going anywhere, couldn't it? It could be going on IVF or, I don't know, prostate cancer. We don't know. We just, all I can say is that it's not right. So let's sum up.
The post-menopause refers to the final stage of the menopause process and marks the end of our reproductive stage of life. So it is a little bit sad, you know, we have to wave goodbye to it, but it's really not the end of all of our symptoms, is it?
No, I think that's what's sad.
Yeah,
That's what's sad. Not getting rid of the symptoms. Never mind waving goodbye to
Yeah.
reproducing.
Bye.
That's absolutely fine. I've got
Yeah.
2 kids,
Let's
4
go.
grandkids. I'm
Woohoo!
fine. Yes. But
No more children!
it's the symptoms that need to be at the top of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that we can't childbear anymore.
So what have we learned today about the consequences of the lack of oestrogen?
That every woman should know.
Yeah.
That if they are in my position, your position, Joe's position, anybody's position as a female, they need to know this information, because then they can do something about it. Not just sit at home, not just ring the GP, but get in there and do something about it, so that then they are protected with the lack of estrogen or whatever, or the menopause symptoms.
Oh, you was listening to me after all,
Of course,
Joyce.
of
10 out of 10, big tick there. Well done. And I think the last thing that I need to say is the transition is a very personal thing to you. Your journey and my journey have been absolutely.
Ultimately, it's about surviving as long as we can,
Absolutely.
and being as fit as long as we can,
Yeah.
and enjoying our life as long as we can.
Quality life.
Yes.
So if you've been watching the podcast, I hope you've learned something today, and I think the key message that I would like to get out there is the post-menopause never ends. It's your lifelong journey to the grave, and I would suggest that you have a discussion with your GP about the lack of estrogen that you might have if you're not taking HRT, and how that might be affecting you right now, and what steps you need to take to actually rectify that, if any. I'd like to thank Joyce, because you've been amazing. Thank you so much.
And I've learnt a lot too.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
brilliant. Well, that's all I can ever
Thank
hope
you.
for, so thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And that's the end of Menopause Weekly, looking at our post-menopause today. Thank you and goodbye. Sharing this information with friends, family and our social media groups is so important. And there might be somebody out there right now that just might benefit. Thank you. Please remember, I'm not medically qualified to give advice. I'm here to signpost and raise awareness. All information provided in this series will be relevant and up to date when posted. If you have any concerns about your physical or mental well-being, please contact a medically qualified practitioner.